everyone. Today we have a very special encore presentation for you. When I spoke to Huy Quan almost a year ago, that was back in April of 22, I knew, along with so many, that Everything, Everywhere, All at Once was a special movie, and that his performance in it was really a triumph. Like, besides even the narrative of his return to being in front of the camera again, the performance stands on its own. And even at the time, I remember walking out of the theater and being like, this is it. This is the movie of the year. Like, this is the most movie. This is the best movie. Like, there won't be another film this year in 2022 that does as much and like takes as many big swings, let alone connects on as many of those swings as Everything, Everywhere, All at Once does. And that wasn't like some kind of prognostication. It was obvious because this movie is so rare and this movie is unique and this movie doesn't feel like anything I can remember having seen, let alone at the level of star power and the, boutique bespoke releasing plans of A24. Like, no, it was obvious that it was something special because it didn't look or feel like other things. So that didn't take a critic's eye to discern that. And if you are a longtime listener of the show, congratulations to you. You might not have seen this movie yet at the time when it originally aired, but I bet you've seen it now that it has garnered so many awards throughout the entire March of the For Your Consideration season, capping them off with a tremendous night at the Oscars. Best Supporting Actress Jamie Lee Curtis, Best Supporting Actor Huy Quan, Best Actress Michelle Yeoh, Best Original Screenplay, Best Directors, and Best Picture. We even had a recent episode where someone felt seen by this movie, Cyrus Cohen, speaking about Joy Wang and Jobu Tupaki. So the cycle continues. And we hope this conversation hits you right in the heart today. And congratulations to the wonderful Huy Quan. Everybody, and welcome to Feeling Seen, the podcast that talks about the movies that make us feel seen. Today's episode is such a special one. Around the Feeling Seen universe, we've been referring to my co-host as a kind of figure, someone whose blockbuster roles as a child actor allowed a lot of other kids to feel seen for the first time. Huy Quan is currently starring as several different Waymonds in Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, a movie that has been gradually rolling out into more and more theaters across the country for the past couple of weeks. This marks his return to acting after a decades-long hiatus that was opted into, but in a lot of ways, not opted into at all. It's a hiatus that he took because he didn't feel there was a place for him in Hollywood anymore, at least not in front of the camera. We'll talk about how that's changed for him and what movie made him realize he could give it a try once more. And then later in this episode, of course, because it is the 20th anniversary of a landmark film, I will have one quick thing to say about Bend It Like Beckham. So get ready for that. But now, without any further ado, let's go to my conversation with Huy Quan. It is a true honor and a pleasure to introduce my co-host for today. He's somebody who could have been with you your entire life, really. And you are revisiting and re-getting to know him again. You may be familiar with Huy Quan's work from those early days in The Goonies as Data or in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom as Short Round, but you will know him well now from his starring role in the beautiful and brilliant and mind-bending new film Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Huy Quan, what have I left out in your introduction about you that we need to make sure that people know? Because you've had very fascinating jobs in the industry over the years, and I don't want to sell short anything you've done.
Oh my God, Jordan, what an introduction. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I don't think I can do better than that, okay?
I will, a thing I didn't anticipate when this movie started, the moment in Everything Everywhere All at Once, directed by the Daniels, co-starring Michelle Yeoh, Of course, the legend Michelle Yeoh. I didn't expect when you started talking to have such an internal emotional reaction to your voice, because you don't sound like a kid anymore, but there's something still just in like the core frequency of your voice to where you were immediately familiar and recognizable to me, and a person that had been a part of my life for literal decades. And I did not anticipate all of that rushing into me, seeing you at this age, at the stage of your career, and feeling that same familiarity that I had felt since I was a kid. And that is an incredible connection to be able to maintain with people over such a long time.
Wow. It's funny you said that, because when I stepped in front of the camera for the first time after more than 20 years away, really, all those wonderful memories that I had as a kid on the set of Indiana Jones and Goonies came rushing back in. And I remember having, a real sense of familiarity. I've been here before.
Yeah.
And it felt really good. I felt like this is where I want to be. This is where I belong. And I was so happy.
It seems like, at what point in working in everything everywhere, at any point were you able to kind of be like, this is my job, I'm doing my job, I am a career professional? Or was it always kind of inextricably wound together with the momentous retransition in your life back to being in front of the camera, having, worked in front of the camera when you were a kid, and then stepping away after so long of like not having the choice of roles that you would have liked, not having a ton of like work options come your way that you wanted to pursue, and opting to go behind the camera instead, going to film school? Was there ever a point when there was a normal day at the office in this, or was it always kind of emotionally laden with, working through a lot of layers at once? Especially you're in a role where you're working through a lot of layers at once.
For many, many years, I lied to myself. I lied to myself that I don't like acting anymore. And it was when I was in my early 20s, and I had to make that difficult decision because there was no opportunities for me. And I decided to step away. And you don't decide to step away and then all of a sudden your passion for that profession is gone. No. It doesn't go away right away. So I had to keep lying to myself and say, Key, you don't like acting anymore. You don't like acting anymore. And every time I had that urge to want to step in front of the camera again, it was so painful, and then I would just bury it. And it took me a long time to bury that passion. And when I allowed myself to be honest with myself, and I said, you know what, I can't deny the fact that this is what I want to do again. And it was really emotional for me. It took me a long time to make that decision because I know I can't go back. There was no going back.
Yeah. I've unearthed it. I've taken out the box that I've buried so deep, and it's opening again, and I cannot close it now.
No, there was no, I know that. I understood that. And I struggled with it a long time, just as long as I struggled walking away from it. And I had like many, many nights of discussion with my wife. Yeah. Should I do this? Do I really want to do this? When I finally made the decision, and I allowed all those emotions, all those passions, all those years came rushing back to the surface. I had the luxury of looking at how to put a movie together, how to make a movie from many different perspectives, many different angles. But I was so happy on this set. I only put on one cap, which was the actor's cap. I didn't want to be anything else. I didn't want to think about anything else. I just want to enjoy being an actor. That I didn't get to enjoy for many, many years. So yeah, every day it was a gift, and I treasure every single moment. Of course, having said that, I mean, it was a lot of work because it was a tight schedule. We shot the movie in 38 days over an 8-week period. So every day we were moving along at a rapid pace. But I never, at the end of the day, I would really take it in and enjoy how beautiful it is to be on a movie set as an actor.
How was that first day sort of shooting? That feels like it could be like, I mean, obviously you prepped for months. You were working with a body coach to like work on your physicality. You were working with, I think, like a voice coach. You know you're having to play all these myriad characters, the multiverse versions of yourself. And so like you're in the work, you're focused. But was there a moment where you had to kind of shake it off the first day and be like, oh my God, I'm back?
Absolutely. I mean, no matter how much prep you do, I realize now that when you are in the moment where you're on the set in front of the freaking Jamie Lee Curtis, the freaking Michelle Yeoh and James Hong, I mean, nothing prepares you for that. And I literally had a moment of panic attack. And I remember there was the very first shot. And when we were done with that shot, I ran up to the Daniels. And I said, oh my God, was that good? Was that good? Is there anything you want me to change with my performance?
Yeah.
And they said, no, you're fine. And then they moved on to prep for the next shot. But still, I was really nervous. And it wasn't until there was one shot that I did, and Jamie Lee Curtis, as experienced as she is, she is always by the monitor watching. She's never in her dressing room. She's watching by the monitor. And when that shot was over, she ran up to me and she gave me a big hug and a big smile. And she says, Key, that was fucking incredible.
That's so heartening.
To get that praise from her meant so much to me. In fact, I even got a bit emotional. And I walked on the set the next day with total confidence. And that's how I finished the movie.
And Everything Everywhere All at Once is it's interesting to describe because you could get into the minutia of it with a person you're trying to tell them about it. You're trying to talk about it to and be like, well, it's a story of string theory and multiverses and action and combat and coming together and interpersonal relationships. And you could start getting into the weeds of how interdimensional mental travel works. Or you could just say, it's the story of a family that's lost its connections to one another and has to go through an extraordinary series of circumstances to find their way back to their core of each other. And that, too, is an explanation of Everything Everywhere All at Once. And it's phenomenal how this movie manages to take execution that is so sprawling and so delicate and just a high wire act the entire time. And also there's a giant bagel that's a void of space and time where nihilism pours into the universe. It is fascinating how this movie carries off its emotional balance amidst the spectacle. And it was so incredible to watch you specifically give this heart-rendering performance of this father, this husband, this man whose love kind of becomes the overpowering magnetic force, keeping everybody glued in one spot when everything else is trying to pull them apart. And I found myself crying multiple times when Waymond is like beseeching the people around them to just care for one another. And I wanted to hear from you about the emotional work of getting to this really expressive place and being kind of the romantic hero of Everything Everywhere. Is that a surprising read to you? Do you feel like that's an appropriate description of Waymond, like as a romantic hero character? Like, what do you think of that?
Wow. First of all, that's what's so brilliant about this script and about the Daniels. On the surface, it's a big science fiction, action, comedy, drama.
Yeah.
But like you said, at the core, it's about this family and it's about love and connection. And I think the movie works, it's because of that. If you take that away, it's nothing. But it's so beautifully written and shot and directed. It's incredible. And I think I love my character Waymond and what he stands for. He's a true believer.
He's a true believer.
Yeah, he loves his family so much. He's a believer in empathy and kindness and love. In fact, when Jamie Lee Curtis saw our movie for the first time, she was so moved and touched by the message of our movie. She sent all of us a poster, and it said, a note to self, be kind, be kind, be kind. And it's so beautiful. And, when I read the script, I cried so many times. And when we were about to shoot that scene where Waymond gives his speech about kindness.
Yeah.
A lot was going on. We
had so much going on.
We had freaking like wind machine. Like not one, but two. And then like 20, 30 background actors, cast members. It was like a lot of people, and the directors were really far away watching at the monitor, and there were like confetti flying around. And yet I'm like, oh my God, I'm so nervous walking onto the set and about to deliver this amazing speech. And there was so much going on. And I remember really like in a corner, because I really wanted to give it justice. And when they roll camera, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
No. You take your time.
I'm taking myself emotionally back to the day.
Yeah.
We shot that scene. Those first words, please stop fighting.
Yeah.
All that tears just started coming out, started streaming down my cheeks. And I remember doing 2 takes. I was so emotional because it was such a beautiful message. And when it was done, I couldn't stop crying. And I stepped off the set. I was devastated. I literally couldn't stop crying. I just kept crying. And I remember Dan Kwan came up to me, and he saw, like, I was in trouble. I was really, my mind was like, my heart and my frame of mind was so deep into that character at that moment.
Yeah.
He came up and he says, and he made a joke. He made a really funny joke. I laughed, and he pulled me out of it. And I thanked him for it. I was in a mess after that scene. It was just because of what this character represents. And and watching it to this day, I still cry.
I know you're all fighting because you're scared and confused. I'm confused too. All day. I don't know what the heck is going on. But somehow, it feels like it's all my fault.
我总是看到事情好的一面，那不是因为我天真，而是必要，而需要。这也就是我的生存之道。
I don't know. The only thing I do know is that we have to be kind. Please, be kind. Especially when we don't know what's going on.
For you, what is that Waymond represents? What is the power of this character for you, and what do you think the potential power of this character is for other people?
Well, we have, oh my God, the world has gone through so much for the last couple of years.
It has been truly everything, everywhere, all at once. Like, for real, like, honestly.
Yeah, and oh my God, I'm a mess again. I'm so sorry. I'm a mess. This is hard, man. This is hard. I wasn't expecting this. Come on. I thought you would be like asking simple questions. All right.
Oh, I'm so sorry we bait and switched you.
Ask me what it was like working with Michelle, or Jamie Curtis, for God's sake, But I mean, it's it really. I mean, everybody has gone through a lot in the last couple of years.
Yes.
Everybody that I know has experienced some form of loss. And the stuff that we have been seeing in the media and the horrendous stuff that is happening in Ukraine right now. And if, my gosh, have we not learned anything at all? Right? And here is this wonderful character that no matter what happens, he doesn't give up hope. He doesn't lose sight of how grateful he is, how lucky he is. I feel that. And honestly, I mean, if people can, if there's one thing that they can get out of this movie is, I hope they all understand how important it is to have empathy. Because empathy creates a pathway for understanding and acceptance.
Well, and I think too that the author Mary H.K. Choi, she went and saw the movie and she talked about it afterwards. And a thing that she talked about feeling so healed by the movie, and the movie creating a space for her to feel really healed with a ton of the all the news that we're bombarded with here at home about hate crimes against Asian and Pacific Islander people, against this swell of nationalist sentiment that brings violence upon your community and your neighboring communities. And a thing that she really rejoiced in about Everything Everywhere was its poignancy, but its silliness too. And its embrace of joy and its embrace of fun. And she's like, I never get to see people who look like me embrace our silliness on screen. It's about our Asian identity, and it's about the things that are happening to us, and it's about how we exist in conversation with whiteness, as opposed to how we just exist among each other, with each other, for each other. And there's so much silliness and joy about that. And I wanted to hear from you about the silliness that comes with hot dog fingers, and with you talking about the raccoon version of Waymond that exists in another universe, the Ratatouille version of him that exists. And I wanted to hear about the way that this movie incorporates that joy as well, and kind of through the ability of multiverse storylines, allowing you to reflect the complexity of a character and a person like yourself, as opposed to having to play to something static that might be more in line with and echoing the less dimensional Asian characters that we've seen on screen, not just lately, but for time immemorial.
Jordan, by the way, I don't even think you need my answer. You have spoken so eloquently about our movie. Oh my God, I would love for you to go. I would love for you to go on the press junket and explain what our movie is about, because I could not have said it better. The Daniels are so freaking creative and original and inventive. They created all these wonderful universes. For us to talk about, because we're always in life, we'll always wonder what ifs. What would our life be like had we made a different choice or go down a different path? And our movie explores that. What would we like? If you didn't get married, or if you had taken a different job. I mean, it's just crazy, and it is silly. It is everything. In fact. This movie, I went to film school. This is the movie that they tell you not to make.
Real? Okay, why is that? Why is that? Because I feel like that intuitively makes sense to me, but what at a technical level are they don't do this?
First of all, they always say less is more. And the Daniels go, no, more is not enough.
I'm a maximalist, so I love that.
Yeah. And then we have wall-to-wall music. And
yes.
Once when we enter that IRS building, it just takes off and it never lets go. And it doesn't let go until the very end. And by the very end, you're exhausted emotionally, physically, and yet you just feel like you have gone on this amazing roller coaster ride through the farthest part of the multiverse and then come back. And it is an experience. It's an amazing movie. And I thought, oh my God, I thought the Daniels pulled off the impossible feat. I mean, it's we can have conversations about this, again and again and again. But it's a movie that the audience need to go watch it, experience it for them, for themselves, and walk away with whatever they want. I mean, in fact, look at the bagel. What does it mean?
What does it mean?
Exactly. That was my first question for the Daniels.
They were like, what does it mean to you?
Exactly. To everybody, it means different things. It's whatever matters most to you.
Right.
And honestly, I mean, Jordan, to have this movie as my comeback movie after more than 20 years.
Yeah.
And I was so nervous right before it came out, because I really didn't know what the audience think about my return.
Yeah.
The last time they saw me was, I was a kid.
Yeah.
That's all they remember me by is Short Round, Indiana Jones and the Goonies. And I'm very proud of those movies.
Yeah.
There's always a part of me that, I'm happy that they love those movies.
Yeah.
But I'm an adult now, and I would love for people to go, Key, you were great in this movie. We love you as Waymond. Oh, by the way, you were also great in Indiana Jones. And
yeah. Yeah. Loved you as Data too.
Yes. I'm still processing how this moment came to be. Really, I'm feeling very grateful, feeling very blessed. I have a lot of questions. I don't have a lot of answers. But just ever since our movie came out, hearing and reading all those wonderful reviews, all those wonderful comments on our movie, and on my performance has been, oh my God, I'm it's brought me to tears again and again and again. I'm really happy. I'm speechless. I have no words to describe my state of mind right now. Aside from saying I'm so happy.
Well, it's incredible to see something that is it's so unexpected. And there's so much going on in this movie, but at the same time, it does feel like in various ways, Waymond's story is also resonant with your personal story as Huy Quan. Like the idea of possibility being so close that you feel like you can touch it, but having to hold yourself back from embracing it, lest your heart be broken. Like you opting to move away from acting no matter how much you still loved it. But the choice to continue to move forward, pursue a different professional track, go on your own strand of the multiverse while also being aware of this one that sits over just to the other side that you would love to know. And you love to say, you hate to wonder what if. Like it's an incredible, beautiful symmetry, I find, between kind of your story as you've been telling it and Waymond's journey in this movie.
The timing of all of this, it couldn't be more perfect. Had they offered me this role 10 or 15 years ago, I would have not been able to do it. And for me to emotionally go there for these characters, I mean, I took myself back my entire life, all those experiences that I have in life, all the ups and downs, all the peaks and valleys. And I always say this, a full life is a life full of ups and downs. And I wouldn't change a thing. I almost feel like, everything had to happen in the order it did for this very special movie to happen for me.
Yeah.
I poured my entire life into these three different characters. They are me. They represent different phases of my life.
Yeah.
Different times when, for example, when things were bad, I looked to Waymond for his hope and love and kindness. When I wanted to give up, when I wanted to step away from this industry completely, I looked to the alpha Waymond because he's a fighter.
Yeah.
He's a fighter. He doesn't give up. And I understand the CEO Waymond completely. I understand the loss he felt, even though he's super successful. He has all the money in the world.
Yeah.
And so is Michelle's character, Evelyn. But yet, if you look at them, in that movie star universe, they're not happy.
Yeah.
And it speaks volume to about life, about how we need to treasure one another. I mean, the human experience is so precious. We can all, we must all learn and share with each other, So yeah, it's again, every time I talk about it, I get emotional, but.
We are going to take a quick break, but we will be back to talk more with Huy Quan.
No raw security, free beef and dairy all day.
Max Fun Drive. Hey, Chef, we got another one.
Another Max Fun Drive. People know it's the best time to support the shows they love. You tell them how Meetup Day is back?
Sure did. They wanted to know about the live streams, though.
Those are finishing up right now. We can even send one out on the first night, March 20th.
March 20th, Chef!
I'll give them a heads up. They also wanted the limited time thank you gifts for new and upgrading members.
Yep, and we got some fresh episodes ready to go too.
Hot stuff coming.
All right, we got exciting live streams, Meetup Day, fresh episodes, limited time gifts. Oh, and BOCO.
Yeah, okay, let them know that Max Fun Drive 2023 will be ready on March 20th, and it'll only be 2 weeks.
2 weeks, Chef!
Max Fun Drive starts on March 20th for just 2 weeks. Yeah, no problem.
Order up!
Shoot, I forgot their water.
And now, a live reading from Rachel's Poetry Corner.
Elephants Theremin's Clifton, Neopets Pore Strips Jepson, Pine Smell Jelly Beans Goalie Goals, Skittles Squirrels and the Mole, Celery Chopsticks Pumpernickel, A Case of You by Joni Mitchell, Lullabies Tie-Dye The More You Know, all of these things on our wonderful show.
All these things and more wait for you on Wonderful every Wednesday on MaximumFun.org or wherever you download podcasts.
Welcome back to Feeling Seen. I'm your host, Jordan Crucchiola, talking today with Huy Quan. We've been talking a lot about everything, everywhere, all at once, and what it was like to return to acting. Now let's talk about the recent movie that made Key think maybe it was time to step back in front of the camera. Well, another movie you've been talking about a lot as you've discussed this movie is Crazy Rich Asians, and how that was a real sort of paradigm shift in your mind for like allowing yourself to to dare consider again what is possible in your career and having one in front of the camera. And I wanted to hear specifically about like how Crazy Rich hit you when you saw it and what it indicated to you for what was possible, that it seems like probably felt impossible, which is what led to your decision to walk away decades ago. Like, what did that do in your mind for creating a sense of possibility when you watched that movie?
If my return says anything, it is a testament to how important it is for not just Asians, but all groups of people to be represented in entertainment. Because until you see it, you still can't believe that it can also be you up there on the screen. And that's what that movie Crazy Rich Asians did for me.
Yeah.
When I saw that movie, and I remember I watched it 3 times in the movie theater. I cried every single time. I cried not only because it was a very moving story with amazing characters. I also cried because I had serious FOMO.
Oh yeah, for real, yeah.
I started in this business in the early 80s, and to watch all my fellow Asian actors up on the screen.
Yeah,
I was like, oh my God, I wish I was up there with them. And really, and that was when the idea of getting back into acting started to take place. I couldn't believe it when I saw it because, oh man, this was what I wanted for so many years, and what's incredible is that over the years, I've met a lot of Asian talents working in Hollywood. They always come up to me and they go, Key, oh my God, you're the OG, man. Thank you for paving the way for us to be here.
Right.
And what's really interesting is that they are the ones who paved the way for my return. Over the last few years, the last 20 years, they have been relentlessly chipping away all those roadblocks, keeping at it. When the time was tough, they never gave up. and I'm, you know, I'm grateful to them. I'm so happy. Again, you know, like I said, I don't want to look in the past. I want to look into the future.
Yeah.
Because I'm very optimistic. I'm very inspired by what's been happening in the last few years, and I'm hopeful where things are going.
Do you feel like with like knowing that, like, you know, say you walk forward and you carve the path as far as you can, and then these people come after you continue, they are your successors and they carve the path ever further forward. Do you feel like at a place where you are now, you back working, you have worked with this phenomenal cast, these phenomenal filmmakers, and do you feel like there is a more sense of a peer community around you of actors that was that there before when you were younger and looking for roles? Or do you feel like now there is a greater movement of solidarity around you where they're like, you're all pushing together as opposed to one person at a time kind of cutting through?
There is definitely a much more solidarity.
Yeah.
In our community now. And I'll tell you the story, and really, and this will maybe paint a picture to show you how difficult it was in the 80s. I was always one of the, you know, the only Asian face on a movie set.
Yeah.
So when I see another Asian face in the business, naturally, you know, you would want to gravitate toward them, and because we share, you know, the same heritage, we share the same culture, we speak the same language, and at that time, I always find it was really weird, but now I understand it. They were always reluctant to you know, to get close to me because they want to assimilate.
Yeah.
And you know, with everybody.
If you align with whiteness, you align with power and you align with opportunity.
Exactly. So it was, you know, I didn't understand it. Then I was like, why, you know, why are you pushing me away? You know, but of course, you know, I understood it not only now, but I understood it, you know, later as I got older, because I just didn't have the maturity to understand that as a kid.
Yeah.
You know, but as an adult, I understand it. I get it. I mean, that is, in fact, you think about it, my given name is Huy Quan. And as I got older, when I was in my late teens and early 20s, I changed it to Jonathan Quan.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I think a lot of minorities can understand this. Our names, you know, oftentimes can take, you know, a minute or two to figure it out. Some butcher it completely. Some don't even bother with it at all. And I remember I did a TV show, and we would shoot it in front of a live audience. And right before each taping, the cast would get introduced. And every time the announcer got to my name, he would struggle. And for whatever reason, I thought it would be easier if I changed it to an American, you know, a traditional American name.
Yeah.
And that's why I chose Jonathan. And I think, I think there's a lot to be said about that. I don't want to get into it, but
that's a whole podcast on its own.
Exactly. But, you know, so when I decided to get back to acting, that was one of the things that I wanted to do was to go back to my given name, because going back to acting is going back to my roots, and my given name, you know, carries so much with my heritage and my family, and it just seemed really fitting. But yes, I mean, just like what you said, you know, now, I mean, coming back now as an actor and seeing our community, there's definitely a much stronger sense of solidarity. There, you know, I'm seeing a lot of the Asian community reaching out a hand to those in need.
Totally.
And not just Asians, you know, they understand how difficult it was for them. So they're very willing to offer a hand to anybody in need. And to offer, oh, you need this. I mean, they would be the first one there. And I'm seeing that now, and I'm really happy. And that's why I say I'm so hopeful. You know,
thinking about Crazy Rich and Everything Everywhere, and those movies kind of in conversation with each other, because, you know, wanting to talk to you about them, I started thinking about a thing that like I'm a queer person, and a thing that we talk about a lot among like my peers and my friends is like not wanting to be defined as the opposition to straight people, the opposition to non-queer folks, but wanting to just be defined in our queerness with one another. And I know that I've spoken to several Black filmmakers who have talked about how they still feel like that an argument they feel like they still have with like executives is that their Blackness still needs to exist in contrast to whiteness to become valid and to become real. And with Crazy Rich Asians and with Everything Everywhere, you have these large ensemble casts of all Asian actors. And it feels like there is the opportunity. The community simply gets to define itself among itself as opposed to in comparison to something else. And I kind of wanted to hear from you about like a whole ensemble cast completely of like non-white characters through which to identify with one another, as opposed to like, we are not defining ourselves as the other. We are specifically us in all of these nuanced and specific ways.
You know, that's what's so great about Everything Everywhere All at Once. You know, every time you have a minority up on the screen and you're trying to tell a story about a minority, oftentimes it has to be about identity.
Yes.
And this movie is not that. It's about family. It's about, you know, very relatable issues at families of all race. It doesn't matter who you are. You can relate to, you know, a husband and a wife, you know, being disconnected after many years of marriage.
Yeah.
The intergeneration trauma, you know, and it touches upon that. And what I love about one of the message in this movie is that it asks you to please accept everyone, and all of us are entitled to be uniquely ourselves. And that is simply enough. You know, it's just, yeah, I mean, it's a, oh my God, I wasn't expecting this interview to go, you know, this route.
I appreciate you going with it.
Really?
Well, just a side question that I did want to ask you, because you have worked in some of your behind the scenes work, you've done like stunt fight coordination and action choreography. I wanted to hear about, because I'm a big genre movie fan, I'm a big action movie fan, and a buddy of mine once described fight scenes in action movies as just like the musical interludes in a musical film, or the dance within a ballet. And I wanted to hear from you about, you know, your training in and your bodily awareness of sort of the lyricism of martial arts on screen and that bodily action on screen and communicating as a physical presence in that way. This is a vanity question for me because I'm super interested in action stuff.
You know, I was very lucky. I was able to work with a really, really like talented action director named Corey Yuen. In fact, he directed Michelle Yeoh's first movie, Yes, Madam.
Huge fan of Michelle Yeoh and Yes, Madam, and her 15 costume changes in that movie. Huge fan.
Yes. So I was really fortunate to work with him, and for many years he took me under his wings and taught me what it takes to do an action sequence. And a good action sequence is not just about punches and kicks. There's a lot of beauty and story that goes into there's the craft of choreographing an action sequence. You throw a punch, me blocking it. I mean, that's easy. But how do you tell a story within that short amount of time? And that's the challenge. I'm lucky to be able to learn from him and to really understand how to shoot it, how to edit it, how to choreograph it. And our movie, there was a lot of great action sequence, and it's really credit to our stunt team. Our stunt coordinator, Tim Ulick, and our wonderful Marshall Club boys, Andy and Brian Lay. They did an amazing job. And yeah, I mean, it's just, I had the best of time making those. It was really wonderful. And, I think that the sequence speaks for themselves.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I guess then I think I have to move into wrapping it up with you, which I'm very sad about. But my final question would be to you then, you know, with all the Waymonds that you came to know, and through that, I would imagine all the Huy Quans that you came to call upon in being able to play all these versions of this person, which multiverse Waymond or which multiverse Huy do you find yourself calling upon now as you move through this stage of putting this movie out in the world and moving into a new era of your career? Which is the one that's getting you through?
You know, for many, many years, I fantasized about, you know, different universes, what I would be like had I had, different opportunities.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I kind of like the present universe.
Yeah.
I really do, because I like things. I like where things are going. I like where I am now. I'm still incredulous how all of this came to be. How fortunate and blessed I'm feeling now for this movie, for this opportunity to work with this amazing cast. Believe me, I've spent a lot of my younger days daydreaming. My mind is not here; it's elsewhere.
Yeah.
But I think now I want to be here. I want to be in the present. I really want to enjoy this moment. It's been incredible. So I would say I would not refer to any other Huy Quans or any other Waymonds or any other universes. I just want to be here now. I'm so happy right now.
I can't imagine having a more preferred answer to that question than the Huy that sits here is now and is of the moment and is looking forward. And I just want to thank you so much for your time today and for being so generous and warm in this interview. Thank you. This has been wonderful. Thank you.
Jordan, I must say, I was not expecting this. You don't give your guests an easy route, do you? I wasn't expecting to cry, to laugh. But really, thank you for having me. It's a wonderful conversation that I wasn't expecting.
Thank you again, Huy, for coming on. This was such a wonderful time. I've had a blast. I can't thank Huy Quan enough for sharing his story with us today. I was so excited when I found out, you guys, that we were going to get to have a conversation with him, and I feel so privileged that he took the time to talk to our wonderful little podcast. If you haven't seen Everything Everywhere All at Once yet, and you are able to get to a theater, please go check it out. Now's the time. It is something that really, again, if you're comfortable doing it, that is really best experienced on a big screen. And shouts out to fight coordinators, the Marshall Club, for the incredible work that they do in this movie. Marshall Club, you're kicking ass. I cannot wait to see more of your work in more movies to come. And if you've seen it, I dare you to go see it again and keep it together during Key's big monologue. That is your challenge. That is your feeling scene challenge, to go see Everything Everywhere All at Once again and not cry. Good luck. But now I have got to talk about one quick thing before we go, and that is the incredibly special 2002 film from director and co-writer Gurinder Chadha that co-stars in two formative performances. If you are anything close to a millennial, particularly a millennial woman, the part of Jess, played by Paraminder Nagra, and the part of Jules, played by Keira Knightley. Bend It Like Beckham is the story of two young girls growing up in London, two teen girls growing up in London, and they find one another and companionship and love through the game of soccer. And it's a bit of a subject with Bend It Like Beckham. They find love because, inexplicably, because it's 2002, they are competing quietly for the affections of their adult soccer coach, Joe, played by Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, even though Even though every single queer out there knows the one true pairing of Bend It Like Beckham is Jules and Jess. I just want to say shouts out to this movie. Bend It Like Beckham is it's still such a perfect gem of an experience. How many of us, including our producer Marissa Flaxbart, how many of us learned the rules of soccer watching Jules's dad explain what offsides meant to his wife using the salt and the teriyaki sauce on the table in the backyard? I kind of feel not quite to the same height, but I kind of feel like sentimental about Bend It Like Beckham in a similar way that I feel to it about Now and Then. Just sort of like girl friendship and finding your way at a tender age. And the connection between Jess and Jules is great. Jonathan Rhys-Meyers, I feel like this was when a lot of American youngsters, at the very least, were introduced to his beautiful face. And I think that too was a coming of age moment for us to experience Coach Joe. But like, you know, also for all these years, somebody responded to me on Twitter talking about this movie and said that Bend It Like Beckham is the gayest straight movie ever made. And that's just gotta be true, you guys. Like there are so many stills that you can pull from Bend It Like Beckham where it's like, oh, and this is where Jess and Jules make out. Oh, it's not. Oh, they're heterosexual. There's even a plot line in it where Jules's parents, mom particularly, is very concerned she could be a lesbian, leading us to the iconic line from Keira Knightley, just because I wear trackies and like sport does not make me a lesbian, as Keira Knightley says. And you know what? Let's give a moment of praise to both of these lead actresses. Paraminder Nagra is absolutely wonderful and tender and kind of ferocious at times in the part of Jess. And this is the breakout for Keira Knightley. We get her in Bend It Like Beckham in 2002 when she's probably 17 years old. She may have filmed this movie at 16. And then just the next year, we get her in Pirates of the Caribbean and Love Actually, where she is a 17 to 19-year-old girl, depending on when these movies were filmed and came out, being pursued by or marrying considerably older adult men. But this is the movie that really introduced us to her star power and her peerless jaw acting. And as somebody who is a sucker for a strong jaw, Keira Knightley, all-time star, all-time hottie. Thank you both, Paraminder and Keira, for being queer icons. We're all out here waiting still. If we got the Santa Clara Years sequel to Bend It Like Beckham, where they went off to college and found love with one another as like upper division collegiate soccer athletes, I think we'd all be pleased to receive that right now, to see Jess and Jules maybe raising their family in beautiful Santa Clara, California. I don't know. It's a possibility. But yeah, thank you, Bend It Like Beckham, for 20 years. Thank you, Bend It Like Beckham, for giving us one of the great going out outfits of the 2000s with Keira Knightley in the club, in her chainmail top, in her low rise jeans, and her belt with a million eyelets on it. This movie is a wonderful taste of the 2000s in certain ways. And if you know anything about me, you know that really plucks at the strings of my nostalgia. So thank you, Bend It Like Beckham, once again. We know you're gay, even if you don't know you're gay. So we live with that knowledge in our queer hearts as canon. And that is our show for today. You can follow us on Twitter at FeelingSeenPod or join our Facebook group at www.facebook.com/groups/FeelingSeenPod. You can also send us an email at feelingseen@MaximumFun.org. If you want to follow me, I'm Jorcru on Twitter. That's JORCRU. Our theme music is by Andrew Epen. The show is produced by Marissa Flaxbart. Our senior producers are Kevin Ferguson and Laura Swisher, and this is a production of Maximum Fun.
MaximumFun.org.
Comedy and culture.
Artist owned. Audience supported.